Does your soloing sound stiff or uninspired? Do your favorite licks feel flat when you play them? Or maybe you're stuck wondering why your solos just don't sound like the players that you love. The truth is, it's not about learning more licks. It's about fixing the bad habits that are quietly killing your tone and expression. So today I'm going to show you 15 soloing technique mistakes that I see all the time. These are the same fixes that I've used with thousands of students to take their playing from stale and robotic to dynamic and confident and musical. So you'll find a free PDF with these tips and a backing track linked in the description. So let's jump in. Mistake number 1, playing too far away from the fret. So most players learn to put their fingers in the middle of the fret space. It seems logical, right? But here's the truth. For a clean, buzz-free note, you want to press right up next to the fret wire, almost on top of it. Why? Because you're not just pressing the string, you're creating a clean contact point with the actual fret metal. That's what gives you clarity and sustain. So I'm going to play a note right next to the fret. Now I'm going to slide my finger back without changing pressure. You hear that fret buzz creeping in? And the further back I go, the more it buzzes. That's because we have poor contact between the string and the actual fret metal. So if you fix this, you'll sound cleaner and more in control instantly. So mistake number 2 is pressing too hard, and this one is huge. Most players press way harder than they need to, especially when they're trying to avoid fret buzz. But if your finger is close to the fret, you don't need a death grip. So try this. Fret a note right next to the actual fret. Play the note and gradually release it until it just starts to buzz. Now press slightly harder than that. And that's the sweet spot. It's probably way less pressure than you're used to. Mistake number 3 is picking too hard. So this one shows up in a lot of players who are coming from the acoustic guitar. So on an electric guitar, your amp handles the volume. You don't need to dig in hard to be heard. In fact, picking too hard kills your tone and makes your playing sound harsh. So instead, lighten up your touch and let the amp do the work. So your tone and your technique will dramatically improve. Now I'm going to try and demonstrate how hard I actually pick. So first I'm going to play to a backing track. So now I'm going to play with that same picking intensity without the backing track, and then I'm going to turn the guitar volume all the way off so that you can get a sense of how hard I'm picking. So I'm not picking very hard at all. In fact, it's much quieter than my talking voice. I sometimes have clients come to me picking this way. And while this sometimes has its place, you should really learn to let the amp do the work and lighten up with your picking hand. Mistake number 4 is too much alternate picking. Alternate picking is great, but don't use it as a blanket rule. Most players use downstrokes for slower, more expressive lines, like generally 8th notes and slower. And they only switch to alternate picking for faster runs like 16th notes. If you alternate pick slower phrases, you are working harder than necessary and you're probably struggling with consistency. So let me show you what I mean to a backing track. 8th notes would sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and as long as I'm in that grid, I'm going to do probably all downstrokes. As soon as I start getting into 16th notes, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E, using alternate picking. So notice I'm using mostly downstrokes, but then every now and then switching to alternate picking. Mistake number 5 is floating your picking hand. So when your picking hand floats, you're relying on your arm for control, which is clunky and inefficient. So you want to anchor your hand lightly on the bridge or the body for single note lines. So you want to use your wrist and not your whole arm. So floating is fine for strumming. But for lead work, you want to anchor your hand so you gain control. Mistake number 6 is playing every note at the same volume. This is what makes solo sound robotic. Music needs dynamics. It needs contrast between loud and soft and accented and smooth. So try exaggerating the differences between these notes. So it'll give your phrasing more shape and more emotion. So here's what playing with no dynamic sounds like. Here's what playing with dynamics sounds like. Really lean into your dynamics and exaggerate the difference between your quiet notes and your loud notes. Mistake number 7 is ignoring hammer-ons, pull-offs, and slides. This is another big one. These are what make the guitar such an expressive instrument. Picking every note is like speaking with the same emphasis on every syllable. I like to play guitar versus I like to play guitar. One sounds human, one sounds robotic. It's the same with your guitar playing. So let me demonstrate that. First, picking every note. I'm not using any slides, hammer-ons, or pull-offs. Sounds good, but it's kind of choppy sounding. Now I add in slides, hammer-ons, and pull-offs, and I get something that sounds more like this. So mistake number 8 is sliding from too far away. So you want to stick to 1 or 2 frets when sliding into a note. Bigger slides are harder to land accurately, and often they sound just like the shorter ones. They're just riskier. So if I slide from 1 fret, it sounds like this. If I slide from, say, 5 frets, there's not a big difference in sound, but there's likely to be a big difference in my accuracy. But here's a bonus tip. When you are going to do a big slide, look at your destination fret, not at your hand. My old baseball coach used to say, keep your eye on the ball. It's the same concept. So for instance, if I'm going to slide from 2 to 7, I want to put my finger on 2. I want to be looking at the 7th fret so that I can slide more accurately to that fret. Mistake number 9 is lifting your index finger on hammer-ons. If you lift your index finger when hammering on, you're killing the vibration of the string and your tone. Keep it planted. It supports the hammer-on and it sets you up for what's coming next, because oftentimes we might go back to that same note. So I often see people lift their index finger when they hammer on like this. And when you do that, when you lift your index finger, it stops the energy of the string. So you're relying strictly on the energy of your finger hammering down to make that note sound. But if you keep your index finger planted, the string is going to continue to vibrate and you'll get a much clearer sounding hammer-on. So mistake number 10 is hammering too far away from the fret. So this is the same concept we talked before about fretting the notes. If you hammer too far away from the fret, the note will be weak or it won't ring very clearly. So if I hammer far away from the fret, it works, but it's not very loud or clear. Now if I scoot this finger up just a little bit to get it just touching the fret metal, you want to hammer right behind the fret for maximum clarity. So mistake number 11 is not planting the lower note for pull-offs. So you need to have the lower note already fretted before pulling off. Otherwise, there's nothing for the string to sound against. So I often see people do this. And they don't have their index finger planted before they pull this note off. And again, that stops the energy of the string. So I want to go ahead and place my finger down on the fret that I'm going to pull off to, and then that way when I pull off, that note is already there. Mistake number 12, pulling off away from the neck. So this is another mistake that I see players make a lot, is pulling straight off, just lifting their finger. For a good pull off, you want to pull down and pluck towards the floor. It's like plucking the string with your fretting hand. If I pull straight off, I'm not really creating extra energy for that pulled off note. But if I pull my finger towards the floor and actually pluck the string again, I get a much clearer and more powerful pull off. Mistake number 13 is inconsistent vibrato. So vibrato has two dimensions, speed and depth. And the key to both of these is consistency. So you should think about it like a sine wave. You can go wide or narrow, fast or slow, but you want it to be a steady shape. Good vibrato is consistent, whereas inconsistent vibrato sounds kind of shaky. So try and really get your vibrato consistent. Mistake number 14 is pulling sharp with vibrato. So a lot of players bend into vibrato and they never come back to center. And this leaves the note sharp and kills your intonation. So you always want to come back to the 0 point. That's what keeps your vibrato musical. So vibrato is like doing a small string bend, but you want to make sure that you release the vibrato and bring the string back to its 0 point. If you bend it slightly when you're vibratoing and don't come back to the 0 point, that note sounds kind of sharp and out of tune. So you want to make sure that it comes back to rest. Mistake number 15 is moving the guitar neck when bending. This is another mistake that I see a lot. People trying to bend a note, but their whole guitar is shifting. That's like trying to hit a moving target. You want to anchor the guitar with your picking hand arm and keep the neck steady with your thumb and let your fingers do the bending. Not. You'll be wasting energy and your bends will be more inconsistent. Mistake number 16 is bending with one finger. So this one's a strength and control issue. So you use at least 3 or 4 fingers to support the bend. 3 or 4 fingers working together give you better pitch control and less fatigue. So instead of bending like this, you want to use your other fingers in support. Mistake number 17, playing single notes on your fingertips. For chords, you want to use your fingertips to avoid muting strings. But for single notes and riffs, you want to go flatter. It helps with muting unwanted noise and it feels more relaxed. If I play on my fingertips, I often get unwanted noises. versus playing with my fingers flat and muting out the unwanted strings. Fixing just a few of these mistakes can completely change how your solos sound and how confident you feel when you play. So make sure to grab the free PDF and the backing track using the link below. And if you want to put these tips to use and gain confidence to play all over the guitar neck, watch this next video. And if you got something out of this video, please like and subscribe. It helps YouTube show it to more players. Thanks. I'll see you next week.